Hello, everyone. My name is Karin Coger from the Coger Law Firm. Today is August 17th, 2023, and we are here today to discuss the petition of Michael Oher, and it's a petition to terminate his conservatorship that he had with what we now know are not his adoptive parents, the Touhys. So unless you've been living under a rock this week, this has been all over the news. So years ago, there was a movie called The Blind Side, and it was based upon the factual life of Michael Oher. The story that was depicted in the movie was that Oher was homeless. He was slightly uneducated, and the Touhys took him into their household. He lived with him and their two children. It was said that they adopted him. And Michael went on to play football, go to the NFL, and lived his life as a football player and a retired football player afterwards. However, he discovered this month, again, it's August in 2023, that he was not actually adopted by the Touhys. He found out that he was under conservatorship. So what we're going to do today is we are going to break down the petition right here that's been filed by Michael Oher. And I also want to relate to you that the main issues in this petition, besides them just blindly stealing from him, that's my opinion, but are the rights or the fact that they took away his name, image, and likeness rights. So NIL has been the buzzword for the past few years. In 2021, rules changed, and now NCAA students in other leagues are able to monetize their name, image, and likeness. But when people refer to name, image, and likeness now, they're typically talking about student athletes. However, name, image, and likeness has been around before. It's just that now student athletes can make money from it. But I want to break down this petition, go over the name, image, and likeness rights that were stripped from Michael Oher, and again, use this as a cautionary tale to student athletes who are entering into NIL contracts now. So, by way of background, and you have to excuse me, I'm going to look down for my notes because I did take the time to go through this 14-page petition. So it was stated that in the summer after Michael's junior year, he went to go live with the Touhys. He turned 18 in July of 2004. He was an adult, but he was still in high school. The petition states that immediately after moving in, he was presented with paperwork, and that paperwork was the petition for appointment of conservators. That was filed on August 9th of 2004, and the Touhys, Sean and Luann, they were appointed, and the attorney in this matter was Deborah Bronner, and please excuse me if I've mispronounced her last name, known to Michael as Aunt Deborah. So she was very close to the family. In this petition, this is what was requested: total control over Oher's ability to negotiate for or enter into any contract despite being over 18 and having no diagnosed physical or mental defects. Additionally, Oher shall not be allowed to enter into any contracts or bind himself without direct approval of his guardians/conservators. So afterwards, in August of 2005, Michael entered into the University of Miss, or Old Miss, and on September the 2nd of 2006, The Blind Side was released. September 2nd, 2006, The Blind Side, Evolution of the Game by Michael Lewis was released based upon Michael Oher's life. So that is when the book that the movie was based upon was released. Afterwards, the Touhys began their negotiations with 20th Century Fox, and they requested the personal rights. They requested payment for the personal rights and the rights of their minor children, Sean and Collins Touhy. So they're natural born children. And again, we have now found out this month that Michael was not legally adopted by the Touhys. They were provided $225,000 plus 2.5% of the future and defined net proceeds of the movie. And it is stated that the movie has earned over 330,000 million worldwide. The Blind Side was released on November 20th of 2009. And it should be noted that this was after Oher had used up his eligibility at Ole Miss, meaning because Oher is no longer eligible, any money that he was received when it was prohibited by the NCAA to get paid for their name, image, and likeness back then, it would not have interfered. There would not have been a penalty. And the petition notes that there was no subsequent order terminating the conservatorship. They never filed any yearly accounting of the monies. They never filed a statement of fiduciary, the statement of fiduciary as to the physical and mental condition of the disabled person as required by Tennessee state law. So essentially, because they were conservators, they did have a duty to keep an accounting of the money that Michael should have received while underneath his conservatorship. There should have been accounting of what he received, what it was spent on. And over the course of these years, they never filed any of this paperwork with the court. The Touhys never sought to have the conservatorship modified. They never sought to have an appointment of a third party to look over it. So meaning that the Touhys, obviously had their best interests and they had the interests of their then minor children in mind, but there was nobody that was independent to represent the best interests of Michael Oher. So since December 7th of 2004, there was the duty of the Touhys to act in the best interests of Michael Oher. And it appeared that they acted within the best interests of themselves. Now, the relief that's being sought is that the Touhys answer to the petition, that they file a sworn accounting summary of all money that should have belonged to Oher, that they pay Michael Oher all the money that is owed to him, plus the interest, and Michael Oher is also asking for sanctions. So since the news of this petition has been released, Sean Touhy has done a couple of interviews, mind you, without attorneys, stating that he always considered, Michael a part of his family, denying these claims to a certain extent, and basically stating that he was wealthy within his own right and did not need the money. So how does this apply to NIL for student athletes now? Again, the year is 2023. The NIL rules changed in 2021. So one of the things that I always state to student athletes and their parents is that you need somebody to read the contracts for you. And I advise student athletes to have an independent representative read the contracts for them. So in a perfect world, you would have student athletes that do have parents who are looking out for their best interests. In Michael's world, he thought that he had adopted parents that were looking out for his best interests. And at that time, he had no reason to question whether or not they were going to look out for his best interests. He was 18 years old. They had Aunt Deborah, serve as his attorney. And it appears that nobody's looked at these documents since the time that they were signed. But I want to go over some things that haven't changed, which are the conditions in these documents. And these are the conditions that I warn student athletes about when signing NIL contracts. Now, some contracts are very straightforward, especially if you are getting a contract through one of the marketplaces, such as Open Doors, or other portals in which student athletes can kind of sign up for, basically like a dating site for NIL deals. They essentially, the brand or the business will state, this is what we are looking for. We are willing to give you $50 in product in exchange for 3 reels and 2 posts or something to that extent. However, other NIL deals are more in writing. All the deals should be in writing, by the way.